We're someone's brain.
Yeah.
Split in two, and I don't even know whose brain it is.
Or if there's even a brain involved.
Welcome to the edge of nowhere. They're playing games at the edges of what we know. Monster Lore Tour Podcast.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 68 of the Monster Lore Tour Paranormal Deep Dives from the Edge of Nowhere podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Carr, here along with my co-host and the big bird to my snuffleupagus, Mr. Matt Ozero, a.k.a. the Moz. How we doing, Moz?
You figured out the side trail. Yeah.
You dropped a hint, so I dropped one too.
We are going to be shifting at the end of this episode from Kermit to the side trail Snuffleupagus.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, it's a big Muppet theme today.
It is an inch. I've cracked the Snuffleupagus code.
Ooh, Snuffleupagus is always my favorite.
Yeah. That's why I had to destroy him.
Yeah, because he was imaginary, you know.
Yeah.
And part of my philosophy is that we're all just collections of figments of everyone else's imaginations.
Right. Yeah. Are we dreaming the Snuffleupagus or the Snuffleupagus dreaming us?
Exactly.
Yeah. We will find out today, actually.
And if,
conclusively.
Yeah, and even if it's all just imaginary, does that mean it's not real?
Yeah. Well, more to come on that.
And away we go. Welcome to the frog flap. But we do have some old business to take care of before we get into the real business of the day. So you got a couple things for us. Let's start with that, Moz.
All right. We did mention, I had asked the question if Jeffrey Meldrum had looked at any of the Bradshaw prints, the Bigfoot prints, and when it was sitting down, it seemed to leave a nice print, the mama.
The body
Bigfoot,
print.
The body print. There is an Amazon Prime video that looks like Jeff Meldrum's name pops up. So we'll have to circle back and watch that and see if he comments.
Oh, there you go.
So it looks like there's a lead on that front, at least.
We didn't take much of a break between episodes here. It's the next day now. So
weren't watching any.
All right, we'll put that on our homework. Make sure we get back around to that at some point soon.
I did find the answer to that. I had this random moment in the episode where I mentioned a gorilla with a space helmet on.
Yeah, you said the groove tube, but that's a gorilla with a TV for a head.
Right. So we found that, but it was from what was in my head. The image in my head was from Robot Monster 1953 of a gorilla that was wearing like almost the helmet from like Scooby-Doo, like the deep sea diving helmet.
Oh, wow.
But it's supposed to be a space. It's Robot Monster.
Well, 1953.
It's a classic.
Yeah, you love those old ones.
MST probably did it if you haven't,
Moz prefers his movies in black and white.
Of course.
Yeah.
Duh.
Classics, as you would call it.
Yeah. Yeah. I concur. Is that it for old business?
Yeah, that'll do it for old business.
I have a prerequisite today. Stop listening right now and go watch Hell Comes to Frogtown, starring pro wrestler great Rowdy Roddy Piper, a.k.a. Roderick George Toombs, not to be confused with the liver-eating mutant from the X-Files, Eugene Toombs. That is another way of saying there's no prerequisites today, actually. So.
Are you telling me there's a Roddy Piper movie about frog monsters?
Oh, I have a quote.
How do I not know that?
Oh, my gosh.
They Live is like one of my favorite
sci-fi. Such a sheltered
movies.
Life you have.
What's it called?
So sad. Hell Comes to Frogtown. I've seen it. I mean, we all have. You can watch it with like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and then it's kind of wonderful.
Sometimes I think I'm cultured.
Creature feature.
I hear something like that, and I realize I have no culture at all.
Nope, nothing. But I wanted to pick a topic.
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah.
Okay, I have two things to watch now.
There you go. But I wanted to pick a topic today to kind of get away from, the big owl thing, the big shaman thing. Frogs had other ideas, so we'll see what actually happens. But to get into the right frame of mind, I do have a Hell Comes to Frogtown quote.
Wow.
And as Bill Murray once said, if you're going to see only one movie this year, he said that about Frankenhooker.
Naked Frankenhooker.
Yeah, he said it, Frankenhooker. Very well done, sir. But I think the same can be applied for this Frogular classic, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Here's the quote. Hey, You try making love to a complete stranger in a hostile mutant environment. See how you like it. That's Sam Hell,
Okay.
a.k.a. Rowdy Roddy Piper, a.k.a. Roderick George Toombs, a.k.a. Don't really count
That falls into the try anything once category.
There you go. The frogs are amphibious of the order Anura and the family Ranidae, Ranidae. We will be frogging and occasionally toading the wet sprocket today. But what's the difference between frogs and toads? Do you know?
I thought you were going to say what's the difference between a toad
Sprocketing
and a wet
and wetting,
sprocket.
yeah.
A toad and a wet sprocket.
Don't wet sprocket. You could electrocute yourself. It sounds like you shouldn't toad a wet
I
sprocket.
still don't know what a wet sprocket is.
Yeah, it sounds dangerous.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Difference between frog and toad. This is Frog Monster Day.
Frog and toad. I knew this at one point. I'm definitely guessing right now, but I'm going to say kind of like the difference between turtle and tortoise, where one of them is in the water and one of them is on the land.
You know, that's what I always thought, and I don't think that's wrong, but according to Frogopedia, it just says a toad is just a type of frog. So their mystery is not that. But you're right. The toad tend to be on land. The frog tend to be more amphibious in water, and
Right.
greener and wetter generally. But they're the same thing. In my research, I came across one type of frog called Rana Aristophanes. And I thought, Aristophanes. And it turns out, yes, one of the Aristophanes' 11 comedies is called The Frogs.
Huh.
As it turns out, Rowdy Roddy... No, he's not in that one. But Aristophanes...
He could be, though.
Yeah. Aristophanes used a chorus of frogs as psychopomps and the underworld greeters to the gates of Pluto Castle in this play, which I read.
Interesting.
Because you have to do important work here. Remember the singing frog from Bugs Bunny? It's like the same idea.
The gate to hell sounds like a frog-infested swamp. Basically.
Yeah, they're all singing. They sing at you as you come across them, though. I did...
I like this sound of frogs singing.
Yeah, I don't know if I got a quote in here from that or not. We'll find out. But why would a frog chorus act as the perfect portal guardians to the land of the dead, Jeremy? That's your other next question.
Because they're amphibious, which means they walk between the realms. They're very chironic.
You're getting ahead of yourself, but no. The answer is because they already croaked. Yeah. I do have a couple of terrible prepared jokes today, so this episode comes with a dire warning. But today we find some giant frogs from all over the globe, but we will highlight the Loveland, Ohio frog flap of the 70s and back. Eastern Europe has the Voidnoi, which is another kind of man-frog creature. And there's a little Massachusetts thrown in here, too, just to keep Jeremy happy. But there are frog monsters all over, as we will come across. And I left no lily pad unturned on this one. So we found some more frog monsters than I thought. For alive and enlarged, we have, that's the biggest species today, still alive. We have the Goliath frog of West Africa coming in at 12.5 inches long and weighing 7.2 pounds.
Whoa, that's a big frog.
Yeah, and however, in Washington State in 1989, a fellow brought in a 14.5 inch long with legs extended. It was 8, and I think it was over 8 pounds, 1 ounce or something.
Wow.
Like that. I found even larger frog accounts in some old newspapers and some other accounts. We'll get to that. And there's sightings reaching crazy big frogular proportions tonight as well, or Frog Wild, which is part of this episode's title tonight.
Were there dinosaur frogs?
There were. This is Titanic. Good segue to Titanic and Toast. What's the biggest one from the fossil record? Perhaps the biggest one, because there were a couple of contenders, is from Madagascar. But Africa and South America both boast these old, large, awful critters. But the reason I picked Beelzebufo, or devil frog, as our winner of the Titanic and Toast is because it has such a big, disproportionately large head and has this massive mouth, and it has this bone-crushing bite to it. It's the Goliath fish of the frog kingdom, basically, back in the day. But this is, again, back millions of years in the,
a dinosaur frog.
Yeah,
that's totally
it's
what I was
Cretaceous. Asking. It's basically coming in. It is only 16 inches and 10 pounds. It's not that much bigger than we find.
Oh, okay.
But it has turtle-like armor, complete with spikes. Oh, and it has a much, much bigger head. So this is like a big walking head that, even though it's only 10 pounds, it's all mouth. And it will, and it will go bite through bone. It has like snapping turtle level of pressure to
it's like if Bowser and Toad had a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you Sean-eyeing me?
No, that was Mario Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Bowser and Toad.
Oh, okay, because there was a Bowser on Sha-Na-Na, too. Bo. Yeah, like that. We get confused here.
He was the Basie one, yeah.
Yeah. That's Count Basie you're thinking of. That's different. But
No,
anyway,
that was Blazing Saddles.
wow. But where do you likely? Oh, wait! I have to stop you from being silly to give you this important next bad joke. Where are you likely to meet a devil frog, Jeremy?
Oh no.
Down at the Crosstoads. That's it. I'm getting out of my system. We're going to move on now. Cameroon has some pretty darn big frogs today if you want to hit the jugal. But a new species of frog was discovered in 1997 that exists in northern Cameroon. But these 3 specimens were allegedly found in an animal fair in England, and they're called the blue-nosed frog because it has this blue spot that's actually like a luminous bioluminescence piece to it.
Is that a predator thing? It lures in bugs with the light?
Maybe. It's not a particularly big, but yeah, that could be part of it.
Because they eat the bugs, right?
Yeah. But my idea for this, because we came across a blue luminous nosed thing, and we're going to let Krampus know this season that we have something to lead his sleigh team, SLAY. So Krampus can have a
blue-nosed frog.
Buford the blue-nosed bullfrog. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm working on the
Buford.
I'm working on the Jingle Bulls for that one.
Oh, that's definitely the new hit on Christmas, man.
Yeah.
We got to make that movie.
We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna do a play.
Krampus's sleigh going around collecting all the bad kids.
We'll show you Aristophanes.
It's got a bunch of blue-nosed frogs flying his sleigh. That's great.
And Krampus, yeah. Other frogs in the news, there was a hoax that made the newspaper circuits back in 1913. There was a German scientist named Wilhelm Rauch, R-O-U-X, who did work with frog embryos, but there was this whole thing about him creating these giant frogs, and the pictures in the newspaper were these massive things. I tried to look into the case. It seems like that was not accurate.
Okay.
I could not find any verification for that. It seems like it was a hoax. Before we dive into the myth, here's some real weird froggy facts, though. And it brings us to our first reading for Jeremy.
Ooh, I have those here somewhere. There we go. The Annual Register for 1761 published a survey of some of this literature, including translations of 2 accounts published by the Academy of Sciences in 1719 and 1731 of live toads discovered in the trunks of mid-sized trees. The author of the survey also alluded to several accounts of toads living in stone formations that had been reported by the ancient Greeks. Some of these reports he discounted as specious. Others he was hard-pressed to explain, except by speculating that eggs must have been deposited in the crevices of saplings and somehow managed to derive sustenance from the moisture in the niches they created. Similarly, Dr. Charles Lee in the Natural History of Lancashire, Oxford 1700, and other early British naturalists also reported having seen living toads emerge from cells in seemingly solid rock. In Hebron, Connecticut, a similar incident was described in 1770 by S.A. Peters. After detonating a large rock on his property, he discovered a frog living in a small cavity laid open by the explosion. The cavity appeared to have been accessible only by a small crevice as wide as a knitting needle. Peters' letter was later forwarded to Thomas Jefferson, who submitted it to the American Philosophical Society.
And that from foundersarchives.gov. The link will be in the show notes. And this is why Thomas Jefferson then wrote the Declaration. No, I mean, it's not that deep.
Dude, so they're living inside stone.
They're extremophiles. They're the tardigrades of the macro world in a way.
How did they get in there, and how did they...
Well, they must have been babies when they went in. Tadpole gets through the needle thing, but enough stuff drips through. But could you imagine being that frog that grows up...
Just sitting in that
sitting in the dark crevice of a rock going, okay, I'll just wait here, okay. And then to be able to survive in that environment.
Do you even know you're real at that point? Are you real at that point? I mean, if you're never observed, then you don't even exist.
It's like the whale showing up in the atmosphere and then plummeting.
This is why the rock has to be conscious.
This is why Douglas Adams.
That frog only exists because the rock was observing it.
Yeah. But it is a very extremophile. I didn't think frogs were that extremophile.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I mentioned it.
Oh, you know what it's like? The... episode 60, the side trails from the initial Owl Week, where I did the Journal of the Dead, the anhydrobiosis, and the extremophiles, where they can go decades, if not hundreds of years, in a dried husk. Once they get enough water, they come back to life.
Yeah. That's why I put them in the extremophile category. I think it's a variation of a theme. And these are much bigger than all the ones you mentioned, basically.
Wow. That's wild, though, living like their whole life in this little bubble inside a rock.
Yeah, I feel like it captures our existence accurately.
It's like Maz in his hermit cave.
Yeah, I do got to get into a smaller room. I'll feel safer. Right. But now let's hit up some frog symbolism and mythos. I did make this short so we can get to monsters. Don't worry. I found in my research, though, that occult lore places the toad firmly into the psychic camp, and some can even be used to detect ghosts. So our next haunted hotel investigation, we're just bringing Buford.
Nice.
I think that could work.
The blue-nosed toad frog. Yeah. Excuse me, blue-nosed frog.
Exactly. They can also ward off evil at times, and they are associated with death omens. And of course, they are used in witchcraft spells and potions, or as witches' familiars. And the hallucinogenic aspects present another aspect of this rich frogular mythos.
Oh, yeah.
More on that today.
Licking the toads, man.
Licking the toads. Rosemary and Ellen Guiley, a toad licker herself, no, I don't, adds this bit from witch hunter Pierre de Lancre. Witches of high rank have familiars complete with the little devil horns who ride atop the left shoulders of witches and are usually invisible. So little horny toads. I got that out of
literally
Encyclopedia of Demons and Demonology from Guiley's work, but I didn't quote. That's more of a paraphrased moment. But basically, there's these little horned frogs sitting on the shoulder of the witch, which is an interesting image.
Last time I saw a horny toad was out by the secret lava tubes.
Well, it isn't a horny toad, but it's a toad with horns, so I call it a horny toad.
It just made me think of the last horny toad I saw.
Yep. I saw two at the Lily Ponds last time we were there. When there were owls, too, by the way.
I have a picture of horny toads doing it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Horny toads.
I'm glad you come out of your little crevice through the needle hole once in a while to look at things. That's great, Jeremy. But this info I found from Myths and Legends of the Bantu, which is in the show notes. But not only do evil beings and witches use the frog in their potions or as their totems, they're also often on the witch's menu. So it turns out many potentially evil creatures feast on frogs. The witch and the frog connection is not limited to European and North American folklore. Nyasland, N-Y-A-S land, a tribe located in Central Africa, told one explorer that witches at certain seasons eat frogs or toads as part of their magical practices. That from Myths and Legends of the Bantu. And
frog legs are good.
But
I've eaten my share of frog legs.
But some people won't eat it because it's associated with an evil creature. Well, I think we get to that. Okay. But back to North America, the Tataklia is a Native American owl witch monster and shapeshifter from the Pacific Northwest tribes that we talked about somewhere in our owl epoch. But they're also frog eaters. From Africa to the Pacific Northwest and beyond, we find this theme. Also, we just found out recently, well, not that recently, but when we did the Yeti, the Banjakri, there's certain Yetis that will eat mufala, these giant frogs up in Tibet, these creature teachers that we found. So one of the Yetis that's supposed to be the creature teacher related to the Banjakri also eats frogs.
All right.
More importantly, they became a basket ingredient in an important Wolfman Puck segment on this show when I served mufalada.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, this gets a little mythy before we get back to monsters, but just hang on. We'll get through it. Greco-Romans. Here's an old myth Greco-Roman bit on frogs. Latona, a consort of Jupiter, had two children to him, Apollo and Diana, infuriating Juno, Jupiter's wife, a.k.a. Hera in Greek. And as you know, she's believed to have created the first frogs, not Hera, Latona. Well, fleeing Juno's wrath, she tries to drink from a water hole. She's got her kids with her. She's just trying to drink. The locals are harassing her. But she remembers, oh, that's right, I'm a god. I don't have to take this crap. So she says, if you love this place so much, never leave this pool. Let it be your place of habitation. And the beings there transformed into the first frog. So it was a frog hybrid-y kind of frog people
she
thing.
She turns me into a newt.
Yeah, it got better.
These guys didn't get better.
No, they really didn't. And then China, from the Chinese mythos, comes Chan Chu, a beautiful maiden, a moon goddess who, through her own actions, turned into a frog as a punishment. We often see that theme. It's her frog-like face that some people see on the moon in that region, by the way.
So it's kind of like the Disney princess stories and stuff where you kiss the frog, turns into a prince, end the curse with a kiss.
There's definitely some curse kissing and stuff coming on. So
cool.
We're getting there.
I love getting ahead of you.
In Japan, the yokai have a few favorite guises. They usually come in the form of demons or ogres or imps. But if they do take animal form, the three most common are bird, frog, and snake. So in Japan, the monsters take on those images most. Frog yokai are popular. So why hasn't one challenged Godzilla? Maybe that's why no one has bested him yet. Toho, if you're listening, there's no frog monster that takes on Godzilla.
Giant frog against Godzilla, huh?
Yeah.
That has not been done.
I don't think it's been done.
I could see that. The tongue would be wild.
Yeah. Get a big Beelzebub frog there. With
giant frog tongue just sticks to Godzilla's face and slams him into the ground. It'd be wild. I want to see that now.
I told you. I think of these things. India has the bequeathing. It's a frog that symbolizes the sun on the horizon. Native American mythos, by the way, swinging into that, they have their own sun or moon eclipse kind of. They have the same variation. We talked about this once before. We have to frighten the great frog away so it releases the moon kind of thing. We've seen variations of that. When there's an eclipse, rather, you have to get the sun or the moon back, so you have to frighten off. They contribute this whole thing to a frog taking the moon, putting it in its mouth, and then you have to scare off the frog so it ejects the moon.
What a weird thing that they would make that a frog.
Well, here's the thing. Alexander Eliot's book, Universal Myth, speaks to several versions of the same frog myth from different parts of the world. In Huron Indian mythos, a frog drank up all the water, and their savior god had to slew the beast to return the water to the ocean. Back to India, Indra goes up against a dragon, Vitra, because it drank up all the water with the same result. In Australia, Aborigines of the Lake Eyres, Eyres district, animals ganged up on another world ocean drinking frog. They try to make it laugh, but only when a dancing eel shows up does the frog finally laugh and release all the world's oceans. There are others, but they're all similar. The global theme, again, involving creatures, often frogs, or in one case a dragon, drinking up all the Earth's water supplies. The hero often has to somehow defeat or skewer the beast to release the water. That from Universal Myths, Alexander Eliot. I'll have it in the show notes. That was just paraphrased. This from Glenn Welker, Glooskap, Algonquin fame. We've talked about him before, related to Nanabotso. Gets in on the action as well. A long, long time ago, Indians settled up the river. A monster frog forbade these Indians to use the water. Some died from thirst. Their spirit chief, Glooskap, came to help them. He saw how sickly his people seemed. Glooskap grabbed the monster frog and broke his back. Even then, the monster did not give up the water. So Glooskap took an axe and cut down a large yellow birch tree, so when it fell down, the yellow birch tree killed the monster frog. That is how the Penobscot River originated. The water flowed from the monster frog. All the branches of the yellow birch tree became rivers and all emptied into the main Penobscot River. That was from Glenn Welker again. That will be in the show notes. I also came across an old Cherokee legend of the frog place, Wallasiya. Walasiyi with two hickeys. Where one hero comes across a great frog in his travels. So giant frogs were out and about back in the day more than I thought. The Wabanaki, the Maliseet, the Micmac, the Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy, all those New England tribes again, all tell similar tales of some associating with these evil creatures and frogs. One is Aglabimo, or Michant, meaning evil creature. So again, there was this connection between frogs and evil. And back to the Tlingit homeworld, the Kushtaka Central, when we did the Ottoman Empire there, which has its own frog mythos up in Alaska, they have a tell of a legend of a frog people. So they have, which is also a Roger Corman film, I believe.
So the Otterman, in the land of the Otterman, there's also frog people.
Exactly. They had to deal with Ottermen and frog people. Yeah. Exactly. That's why they invented the bat'leth, because they really were sick of these things. And yeah it's the Tlingit. We made that joke a long time ago. We don't even get it anymore. But as the Tlingit story,
episode 24 was the Ottoman Empire.
But back to yes, that was a long time.
24
long time ago.
That's getting to be a year ago almost.
Dang. But as the Tlingit story goes, this gal is hanging out at a frog pond, making fun of the frogular community in general. And as it so happens in myth, this shaming session ends badly for her. A handsome man appears to her that night. She instantly agrees to marry. It's love at frog sight. She ends up in the lake, enchanted, living in the frog pond with her new husband. A year later, someone else from the tribe sees the girl, who was long presumed dead, just hanging out in the frog pond with her new friends. So they go and tell the girl's father, hey, your daughter came to Frogtown. He rallies the troops and heads over. At first gives gifts to the frog people to get his daughter back. When they're not having any of it, they drain the whole swamp to get this gal back. This later became, a political slogan, which the frog people are now suing the Trump administration over.
Drain the swamp.
But the frogs lament and wish they've done it all differently and drift away down the wash. So the frogs all die and the bride is returned unharmed. But here's how the tale ends in Tlingit myths and texts. And it comes to Jeremy's second reading.
Oh. When anyone spoke to this woman, she made a popping noise, whoo, such as a frog makes. But after some time, she came to her senses. She explained it was Kiske D, that floated down with me, meaning that all the frog women and men had drifted away. The woman could not eat at all, though they tried everything. After a while, they hung her over a pole, and the black mud she had eaten when she was among the frogs came out of her. But as soon as it was all out, she died.
That from Tlingit myths and texts. Again, that will be in the show notes. That one doesn't end well for that young lady.
So you can't leave. Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, once in Frog Club. Once hell comes to U-Town.
Yeah. That was the same thing with the Ottermen.
Yep. Well, on that note, Tlingit, the Kiksa frog, Kikca, and Kiksa D, which was the frog woman. If we remember from our episode about otters, it's the Kukta, Kucda, is the otter. So there's very similar between the Kushtaka and these frog. And then again, you have the otter people and the frog people, and this one tribe has legends of both. Here's another weird folkloric connection between cryptids, by the way, also from Native Americans located in what is back to New England region. We find a creature called the Maski Kewsu, Kewsu, from the Abenaki folklore, a toad woman who stands about 2.5 feet tall, but is blacker than most frogs. And Abenaki folklore speaks to the existence of a race of these beings as well. So hints of frog people abound.
Pygmy frog people.
Yeah, and isn't it funny, though, we found Tlingit legend of the frog people. If you remember, that's in Alaska, and then we find Abenaki in New England. We find these frog people again. That's not the first connection we've found between New England and Alaska, because if you remember, with the Wabanach tribe from Bridgewater Triangle episode
34?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I wait now.
Was it
pause.
32? Uh-oh.
Yeah, here's trouble. But they had a story of an otter monster that died, and when a boy walked across the very same spot the next season, he died. It was by some fence, and they remember later that's where we had killed the otter man.
Right.
This kid dies just walking over that spot. The Tlingit treat an otter man in Alaska, and then when anyone went near that spot years later, they went mad. So we've got this frog people connection, people, and we got this otter.
And it was 32. Bridgewater Triangle is 32.
So this is opposite ends of the continent, but we find strange Tlingit New England connections. Is this simple diffusion? Is this shared oral tradition? Or is there more to this tale? Anyone knows more? monsterloretour@gmail.com. But then that brings us to the Silver Lake, Massachusetts. We can't get away from Massachusetts. Like I said, we had a little bit of it. I guess we had an extra serving here.
Well, it is. New England, and particularly Massachusetts, is a pretty swampy place, so it would make sense that there's a lot of frogs and toads.
I think I mentioned on that long list of things we found at Bridgewater Triangle, I think I mentioned, and to you, I think we put in the episode that there was also frogmen seen there, and it was one of the dead ends. As it turns out, this might be part of that answer. Because when we talked about the Hockomock Swamp, the lake in question, Silver Lake, is actually further toward Cape Cod and not in the triangle proper, but close enough to further support my Bridgewater rhombus theory. But there was a flap of frogman sightings in the Silver Lake in the 50s when reports of giant frogs and little frogmen started surfacing, literally.
I wonder if there's a portal in that swamp.
Well, I'm saying that's not Hockomock, but the bottom line is it did get tied in to the Bridgewater Triangle mythos.
Because it's in the same area.
Yeah, we listed all the creatures, and that was the one kind of loose end, and I think that ties it up potentially. Yeah. At least finds out where it came from.
Triangle isn't really a triangle. It's more like a blob.
Correct.
So it's hard to really define the border. If it's close to where people say the area is, then it's quite possibly in the area.
And what do you do with a cluster blob? You corner it in a diner, and you use the fire extinguishers on it, and then you drop it in the Arctic. Anyway,
Okay.
I hope that helps.
It helps.
And this comes out of Plymouth County in Saugus. Here's the Boston Globe with an account, and our third reading.
I'm going to have to use my accent for this one, aren't I? If it's from the Globe out of Saugus.
Please.
In the 1940s and 1950s, there were reports of a lake monster said to be a giant frog or little frog man in Plymouth County's Silver Lake that were talked about around general stores and mentioned in passing in old newspaper articles. Years later, wildlife officials were on the lookout for an alligator that was rumored to have taken up residence in a same named but different Massachusetts pond. Department of Conservation and Recreation officials searched Silver Lake in the Breakheart Reservation Park in Saugus on July 28, 2011, after 2 alligators sightings. No alligators were found.
That again from the Boston Globe, and with an accent like that, I think it must be true. Like it just sounded
It's
like
got to be true when you say it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you are the Cliff Clavin of cryptozoology, after all, Moz.
Oh, gee. I guess that's the time to cheers me.
Which is
around then.
Which is how you made a full episode out of frogs on a monster podcast. Who else does that?
Did you just bull and finch me?
Ooh, the bull and nice pull, dude.
Yeah.
That's the name of the bar that Cheers was modeled after.
There you go. But so, and I've been there. But so it's inconclusive though, because they went looking for the frog people, didn't find it. Looking for alligators, same thing, didn't find it. But this 40s, 50s, this region, we definitely have reports.
I definitely never heard of any alligators in the area when I was there.
But alligators again were on that long list of things they saw at the Hockomock Swamp as well.
It's super portally, man, with all the different creatures and things that people have seen in there, and the weirdness of all kinds. Like, it does kind of remind me of the last episode with Bradshaw Ranch with, when there's a portal around, it's not just one kind of weird creature. It's all kinds of weird creatures,
Yep. But this brings us more to monsters now. We're going to get away from the myths, and we're going to really start getting into some monsters here. Global monster roll call. Australia's Yarama is where we're going to start. It's YARAMAYAHWHO.
I was waiting for Australia to pop up in this.
Yep, it's a vampiric creature, red-colored, and dwells in the western forests of the outback. This creature is a blend of frog and humanoid, big head, big stomach, swallows its prey whole, even adult men, lives in trees, thus a tree frog monster, if you will. If you're repeatedly swallowed, you will shrink, and at some point you become a Yaramayahu yourself. This happens...
Did you say repeatedly swallowed?
Yeah, I'm going to explain that part.
Oh, no.
This happens because it swallows you and regurgitates you, and you're still alive. But if it catches you again and keeps doing this, after several rounds of this, you become a little redder, a little deader, a little bit more hungry for flies and stuff.
It's like lacquer in your deck.
Yeah. That's suggestive. Again, you're getting suggestive.
I said deck.
Okay. Okay. Wow. All right. Sounds good. But some accounts, these frog monsters have suckers on their hands, almost like octopus to drain the blood, almost leech-like, which is also another Roger Corman film, I believe. Australia also boasts the frog-headed Wowie, WHWEE, a serpentine water monster that pops up in several Aboriginal folklore tales. We talked about this one in Megalania because it's often associated with a giant lizard-like creature, but some describe it as being more frog-like due to the head and mouth. And that's from Heather Frigolia's work.
Or maybe, is this related to Slinky, the Gloucester sea serpent from episode 2?
I think I have a joke about Gloucester coming up, so maybe that'll help you.
Just make sure you pronounce it
I don't know
right.
how to help you.
It's pronounced Gloucester.
Lackey your own deck there. But Chile is another one, hailing from the Chilean folklore.
Did you just tell me to lacquer my own deck?
Well, well, I'm just saying. Gosh, I'm trying to get through this, so we could get more deeper into frog monsters.
Oh,
dang,
okay.
dude.
I'm sorry, everybody.
It's okay.
Please proceed, Moss.
It's okay. We're going to get him some air. But hailing from Chilean folklore and Teresa Bain's bestiary, I found the strong toad. These have a bioluminescent quality going on as well, like Buford, and can also attract or repel anything it gazes upon. They are supposed to be almost impossible to kill. That's from Teresa Bain's bestiary. Will be in the show notes as well.
That's always a good trait in a monster. Almost impossible to kill.
Yeah. And we can maybe use that for best defense if we train them to kill.
Because that's a franchise monster, not just a movie monster. You get to make a whole bunch of movies with a monster you can't kill.
Yeah. We could do like a Pratt thing where he's hunting with frogs. They're kind of riding alongside of him like the set of the raptors.
That'd be cool.
But Taiwan, I found these frog-like beings called Changchiyas. Chiyas. Mountain demons who get this kidnapped children. Are they being taught sacred knowledge, or are they simply basket ingredients in their own Wolfman and Puck segments? We may never know.
Is it the Yeti or the Banjekri that gets him in the end?
Well, I'm just saying, I wonder if this is a variation of that, because it's that a little bit closer to certainly to that neck of the woods.
Right.
I don't know. I'm really not sure, but I tried to research this more. I think it's more of a swing back if I find more info, or someone, again, monsterloretour@gmail.com. Seems like a lead that I'd like to follow up.
There you go.
But it does parallel the whole...
Yeti Banjekri was 38 and 39, by the way. Episodes 38, 39.
It does seem to mimic. The Changchi does seem a little bit like the Banjekri in some ways, and they also... But these are mountain demons who resemble frogs, and the Banjekri are these Yeti that eat the mufla of frogs. So there's also a weird connection that way.
Yeah. Some kind of battle going on in the shamanic realm right there.
Exactly. And I found that creature from Spirits, Ghosts, Deities, and Monsters on Taipei Times. That will be in the show notes. China. There are rumored to be giant toads in China as well. I found the story in Ken Gearhart's A Menagerie of Mysterious Beasts, which is a fun one. This is his quote from Ken. A number of internet websites pay tribute to a narrative that describes a heretofore unfamiliar brood of tremendous toads that inhabit cavernous pools in China's western Hubei province. This stems from a nebulous tale of an encounter that was supposed to have transpired during the summer of 1987. And again, that'll be in the show notes. Acting on his lead, though, I found one of these aforementioned nebulous tales from Pine Barren Institute. Brings us to another Jeremy reading.
In 1987, 9 scientists from Beijing University ventured into the interior of central China's Hubei province to catalog and film the native wildlife of the area. The group's leader, 58-year-old Chen Monk Chun, led the group of scientists towards large pools of water near Baofeng Lake, deep within the mountains. While preparing to film the animals around them, the group witnessed something incredible. From within these mountain pools, 3 extremely large and unsightly creatures that resembled giant toads rose up from beneath the water and started swimming towards the water's edge. The same edge where the scientists were currently setting up their recording equipment. The 9 men described the giant toads as having completely grayish-white skin, eyes bigger than rice bowls, mouths that were almost 6 feet across, and showed no fear of humans. When the 3 toads reached the water's edge and were within mere feet of the men, they stopped and just watched. Suddenly, and without warning, one of the toads opened its huge mouth and shot out its immensely large tongue, which it managed to wrap around some of the equipment and pull it towards the water's edge. At this point, one of the other toads opened its equally large mouth and let out a powerfully loud croak/shriek. This in turn caused the 3rd toad to do the same. As quickly as they started, the large amphibians then stopped their vocal assault and submerged back into the water below. The sight of the gigantic monster toads was so intense that one of the scientists dropped to his knees and began to shake and puke into the earth beneath him. The other men quickly made work of packing up their gear and leaving the area immediately. Now, while this report does at first come across as unbelievable, it is worth noting that local fishermen within this mountainous region have long reported sightings of giant amphibians within the deep mountain water, since as early as 1962.
That again from the Pine Barrens Institute will be in the show notes. The website does have Institute. They do have Institute in the name, so I think it's legit.
That makes it true.
If you had read it We know, in like a New Jersey Devil accent, and we really would have had it. Would have been really authenticated. I feel like they should be focusing on.
Thankfully, I don't know how to do a New Jersey accent properly.
I don't either, and I don't want to talk about New Jersey.
No,
but here's the thing. No offense to Jersey folks out there. I'm very familiar with your state. What happened?
I like Western Jersey, the woodsy part.
It's south or western or north. It's just the area right around the city.
I don't like any cities. Actually, anymore. Yeah. That's why I live in Flagstaff.
I hear you. And what happens when all the expedition's equipment gets dragged into the water by giant frogs, Jeremy? What happens then? They need to be towed out of there.
Yep, there it is.
And that should be it. I promise.
I properly braced myself for that one.
I don't think that. But jolly old England.
I almost puked into the earth like that guy when he saw the frogs from that joke. That's how bad that joke was.
Wacky a dick. But jolly old England has a frog monster sighting as well. Monster theorist Stephen Asma scared up an old frog tale from July 15th, 1642 in Wall Edge. A London pamphlet reported a fisherman getting a frog creature tangled up in the fishing net. That's
Dylan.
That's a Dillian joke, not a Neil Youngin joke.
Yeah.
But this giant frog monster is described as part toad and part fish, but with the chest and the hands of a man. The pamphlet went with the toadfish, or Mothman.
So it's a toad, a fish, and a man.
Correct.
So toadfish man.
Toadfish
like
man.
bear pig, but toadfish man.
Exactly. And that's from Stephen Asma's On Monsters and a Natural History of Our Worst Fears, which brings us to the actual account that I snagged from this.
Between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, Thomas West was casting for salmon when the weight of his submerged net became unaccountably heavy. Thinking he had hit upon a thick school of fish, he happily struggled it to the surface, whereupon he drew back in horror. He saw in the net, quote, a fiend, not a fish, at the least a monster, not an ordinary creature, unquote. The hefty 5-foot creature seemed part giant toad and part man, capable of gulping with its wide, toothy maw of prey, but also able to paddle swim with humanoid arms. The posterior of the beast terminated with a whale-like tail fin. Here the author of the pamphlet breaks off from the reportage and muses on the history and significance of this toadfish monster. Quote, now the coming up of this monster into the fresh river, and so nigh the shore, is more than remarkable, never any of this strange kind ever having been seen by any age before, unquote. One exception, the reporter notes, is that Pliny, the naturalist, did describe something like a monster toadfish, but the beast lived far under the sea. Pliny never saw or heard of any taken upon any coast. That's Pliny the Elder?
Correct.
Ancient Greece?
Yes. And they took a page from Pliny on this one, and they saw it as a bad omen. London was a little shaken up by this story. That will be in the show notes, by the way, Stephen Asma's rendition there.
So there's legend of the toadfish man going all the way back to Pliny the Elder in ancient Greece?
Yeah, and that's
wild.
I didn't find. Actually, Asma, references that. I don't have that in my mind, so I guess I wasn't as thorough. But I kind of captured in this one in a net for your enjoyment.
Yeah,
so,
I like that a lot. That was a great reading right there.
This brings us to the Aztec. And this actually sounds a little vaguely like an Aztec beastie that I dredged up while fishing on the shores of the Thames. The Aztecs describe something they call the Cipactli, Cipactli, which is part crocodile, part toad, and part fish.
Ooh.
A crocable frog. The human hands are absent on this one, but there were frog-like mouths at every joint of this thing, and it had kind of a Wendo-esque hungry ghost, insatiable hunger thing going on.
Ooh.
And this was many millennia before the Snicker bar, so it just stayed hangry forever, I think.
Could they have just mistaken it for a cocaine hippo?
Maybe, yeah.
Sounds like a cocaine hippo.
But this one is a colossal beast, actually from Aztec's origin mythos. So it's kind of when the earth formed. It's kind of like Tiamat back to Sumerian. We have to render the sky father from the earth mother, and it's kind of one of those original beasties.
An old titan in the early days of the earth kind of stuff.
Which is maybe where Pliny got it. Who knows? But
okay.
But in Poland, moving to Poland, Heather Frigiola's work again. I also found a frog or reptilian-like humanoid living in Poland, although descriptions are scant, but it's named the Bagiennik, Bagiennik, which means swamp lurker. And this thing can be found, you guessed it, in the marshes and swamplands of Eastern Europe. Here's Frigiola. Sometimes they are described as diminutive humanoids, brownish-green in color. They may possibly have reptilian, amphibious, or fish-like qualities. Bagiennik can breathe through their skin by absorbing oxygen in the water. Their presence underwater can be indicated by discolored water and small bubbles rising to the surface. They can be aggressive when protecting their territory, yet their attacks are rarely fatal, and they generally keep to themselves. That's from Heather Frigiola's work, Monsters and Mythical Creatures from Around the World, in the show notes. See, there are good frog people out there.
Sure.
Because good friends make good neighbors. Oh, wait, that's the last one.
You keep saying you're not going to do that again.
I lie. And then there's a Dutch one, the Die Bullebak, Bullebak. Here's the story of a Dutch frog monster, and brings us to another Jeremy reading.
An image of another legend I grew up with as a kid haunted me for days, till I at last put it down on paper. It is the story of the Bullebak, a Dutch water spirit used by parents to frighten away children and keep them away from the water. Something of which we have a lot here. Now the word Bullebak is hard to translate literally, but it means about the same as bully and refers to someone or something which harasses another person because he likes to do so. This word is used in general, but also refers to a terrifying water spirit. Its description is quite diverse, and parents have become very creative with it through time. One of these descriptions is that of a creature living in the water with the head of a bull. Others say that the creature has never been seen, but has the habit of luring children with shiny little stars to the waterside and then grab them. Many of these descriptions also include a big fish. I, however, grew up with the story that the Bullebak was a gigantic bullfrog. When it caught you, it would drown you and eat you up whole. I can't even recall how many times my grandmother warned me of the Bullebak, but it must have been often. Even now, at the age of 25, I still recall the images I had in my mind as a kid when listening to these stories.
That account comes from DeviantArt. It's the Bullebak, a Dutch folktale. So thanks for reading that one. Sounds a little like the Vodenoy because of this leaving stuff along the edge, as we shall see, from Slavic tradition. One of the two frog creature features we will be highlighting today, and not too far geographically either. So put some pins into that. We'll be swinging back. But we are not done with the Netherlands. The southern province of the Netherlands has a much more chimeric-y frog thingy called the Vleuterduvel. Vleuterduvel? I think it sounds like a Basque ingredient that the Swedish chef would use on his own Wolfman pucker.
I've already been thinking about eating the toadfish man.
There you go. But the Vleuterduvel forever skulks around the marshlands, head of a dog, frog-like webbed claws, and a stumpy fur-covered torso. So it's more chimeric-y with kind of froggy.
And it's got some
webbed
dog worked into it this time.
Yeah. But this thing will leap on your back, hooks into you, until you either give up, collapse under the weight, and it eats you, or if you reach the pub, you'll be very envy of all your friends, I think. Yeah. So Simon Pegg, it's kind of a Simon Pegg thing.
Get that thing on a leash, walk it around, man.
There you go. But it's very similar to the Kelpie and Selkie stories. These things, you jump on their back or they'll jump on your back.
Oh,
There's a lot of
sure.
of that.
The Kelpie, yeah.
Yep. But this brings us to the Coleman frog of Killarney. And this just from Wikipedia I found. There's a strange tale of a giant frog from New Brunswick, Canada, in a lake north of Fredericton. I think this is in Gerhardt's work as well. But in the 1880s, old Fred Coleman, no relation to Lauren, by the way, ran a lodge in their parts where he apparently caught a giant frog, 7.3 pounder, and domesticated it.
Nice.
Wikipedia claims it grew so much bigger because of the steady diet of whiskey, June bugs, buttermilk toddies, and baked beans.
He fed it my dog?
I was going to clarify, not your puppy,
Oh.
actual June bugs.
Oh.
But, that sounds like quite the diet. The best part, apparently, this giant pet frog died in a dynamite accident.
What?
After which it was sent to the Bangor, Maine to be stuffed and mounted. That frog really lived, Jeremy,
How do you stuff and mount a frog that got blown up by
drank
dynamite?
whiskey and just hung out and got tremendous and then dies in a dynamite? I mean, this frog lived. I'm just going to say that. Actually, it might not have lived because we're going to talk about whether it lived or not.
I want to know what it looks like when you get a giant frog drunk on whiskey. I want to know what that looks like.
More beans, Mr. Tiger.
Yeah.
But even though this is a
Are
largely...
you saying it would be a shit show? Is that what you're saying?
But even though this is largely believed to be a hoax, the taxidermist work does exist. Like, they do have this thing. It just looks really cheesy. But some people say it's because taxidermies weren't that good back then. Other people say it's because
it's
they
a
don't do
Franken
frogs
thing.
very often. So, but...
Or they put it together from pieces of other things.
It's a little sketch. The whole story is definitely a little sketch.
Kind
But
of sus.
the only thing that makes it kind of sus, the only thing that kind of makes it, everybody mentions it because several prominent people from the town came to know he did have a big frog. Like people that didn't have to came forward, and that's the only thing that lends credibility to this.
And that counts a lot for me in situations like that. If people who have a reputation of being honest people come forward and say, "Yeah, I saw that thing. It was a huge frog."
Real. That thing is real.
That to me is evidence.
Yeah. So it does have this question mark with it. It does sound tongue in cheek with what they were feeding it. It does sound a little, but like I said, it's a mixed bag.
Well, it was eating whatever its owner was eating.
Yep.
That's how something like that gets raised up.
Whiskey and baked beans.
Whiskey and baked beans, man.
Sounds like Monster Lore Tour headquarters to me.
Yeah.
But now this kind of brings us to our main features tonight. We have the Loveland frog from Ohio and the Voidnoy frog monster of Eastern Europe or Russia. That's going to wrap up our global frog roll call, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth to these because these are kind of the bigger frog, what people may have heard of, what I had heard of before I started studying frogs. But first I did a little digging around the U.S. newspaper front and found some crazy old frog capers.
Capers?
Well, capers could be a basket ingredient for wolfmen. That's not that kind of caper. The first I found was from a June 16th, 1896 edition of the Rock Island Argus, which tells a story from Rahway, New Jersey, where a man finds a frog in a dry lake bed that topped the scale at 10 pounds and 3/4.
There it is.
Yep.
That's a big frog.
And Argus, do you know that reference?
No.
Abel Argus is Odysseus' puppy.
Oh, yeah.
So he ate June bug and Arguses.
There you go.
In one story from the Los Angeles Herald, a house is supposedly haunted. The house is promptly abandoned. Police are called there for a disturbance, and a giant frog is found there by the police. It hopped away, but they were like, that is a massive frog. So the hauntings became associated and tied in with the frog.
Huh.
The Mr. Perkins Jenkins ended up being like a 12-pound frog.
We do say, everything's tied together.
Yep, named Buford, which is also,
Buford the blue-nosed bullfrog.
That's right.
You remember that.
We're going to have that jingle soon.
Buford the bull-nosed bullfrog.
No, we have to come up with our own. Like, somebody did that already. So
okay, I'll have to talk
we're not
to Tim.
doing the Weird Al thing. I will put some of these in the show notes, by the way. Well, actually, maybe the ones that are relevant. But this one I came across, a giant frog in the newspaper directory. It's my favorite moment here of research for this. Well, actually, no, I found a really good thesis, so hang tight. But this is the funny one. In 1913, out of Heinemann, PA, came a report of a giant frog that would climb up on some rocks near a train. And it was made such a loud whistling sound that flagmen were confused and returned at times to the train wrongly. It almost caused a train wreck.
It was as loud as a train whistle?
Yeah, and one of these flagmen who saw the beast, well, here's the account from the Ocala Banner, June 5th, 1913. Brakeman J.W. Flegel of Cumberland, Maryland, saw the frog, says he stands 2 feet high and has eyes as big as teacups. Several of the trainmen have armed themselves and have threatened vengeance on Old Gig, they call it.
Old Gig.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be a joke. Like, I thought it was a hoax, but, reading it, I found this in other newspapers. It's several of the same accounts. It made kind of natural, but it could be just a hoax, but I couldn't see any evidence as to why. They mentioned a real guy's name, and they mentioned a real town.
That's a loud frog.
Yeah. 2 feet tall. If it's if that guy's right, and there's only one witness. But they heard something really loud, and one guy saw it, and they said it was really big.
If they thought it was a train whistle, I mean, I've been next to those trains and those whistles go off, man. I'm more impressed with the volume than I am the size, honestly, at that point.
But no, there are no frogs that stand 2 feet high.
No.
That goes back beyond the old fossil record, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Beelzebufo would not have stood that high.
That's bigger than the dinosaur, even.
Way bigger than the dinosaur.
Where was that again?
Heidemann, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
But let's head to Ohio, not far, investigate the famous Loveland frog flap. Some of you may have heard of this one. It's frog sightings from back in the day, but we will review some of the key accounts. This thing has been seen lurking all around Hamilton County, but Lake Isabella in Loveland seems to be the phenomenon's epicenter. May of 1955, an anonymous report, which came to be known as the Traveling Businessman's Account. This kind of kicks off some of the Loveland flap.
Okay. 1955. At approximately 3:30 a.m., an anonymous witness claimed to have drove up upon 3 bipedal, quasi-amphibian creatures grouped together on the side of the road. The man immediately pulled his car over to the curb and watched these creatures for what he believes to be 3 to 5 minutes. During this time, he noticed that these strange creatures stood roughly between 3 and 4 feet tall, were covered with leathery skin, and had webbed hands and feet. Their most distinguishing characteristic, however, was their distinctly frog-like heads, which the man claimed bore deep wrinkles where their hair should have been. The heads also appeared to attach directly to the body at the shoulders, meaning that the creatures either had no neck, or the neck was not visible due to the leathery-like skin around the creature's head and shoulders.
And that is also from the Pine Barrens Institute. That will be in the show notes.
3 to 4 feet tall. We keep getting bigger.
Exactly. That's why this is a creature feature highlight reel.
Yeah.
And Twitea Road, again, that's the tribe we skipped for Native Americans, by the way. It's funny how in King Philip Street in Bridgewater, we find a giant snake, which was the totem of the black sachem.
What was that guy's name again?
Tespaquin. And now we find Twitea Road, which is the tribe that's supposed to be at the Little Miami River. There's an account. The main account involves 2 police officers. This comes to our next reading.
In March of 1972, on 2 separate occasions, 2 Ohio policemen saw what has become known as the Loveland Frogman. Fortean investigators Ron Schaffner and Richard Mackey, who interviewed the officers, investigated the incidents. The first incident took place at 1 a.m. on March 3rd, 1972, on a clear, cold night. Officer Ray Shockey was en route to Loveland via Riverside Road when he thought he saw a dog beside the roadway in a field on Twitea Road. But then the thing stood up, its eyes illuminated by the car lights, looked at him for an instant, turned, and leapt over a guardrail. Shockey saw it go down an embankment and into the Little Miami River. He described the thing as weighing about 60 pounds, standing about 3 to 4 feet tall, and having a textured leathery skin and a face like a frog or lizard. Shockey drove to the police station and returned with Officer Mark Matthews to look for evidence of the creature. They turned up scrape marks leading down the side of the small hill near the river. Well, that sounds like the same creature as the last one.
Yep, WeirdOhio.com. That was the last reference. That will be in the show notes. Officer Matthew has his own account here too as well. So this is a twofer, ... In 1972, another intriguing account involving Loveland police officer Matthew Stallings surfaced, further heightening the allure of the Loveland Frogman legend. During one eventful patrol near the banks of the Little Miami River, Officer Stallings allegedly caught sight of the creature crouched along the riverbank. Described as standing approximately 3 to 4 feet tall, with leathery skin and distinct frog-like features. The creature's eyes emitted an uncanny luminosity, reflecting the beams of the patrol car's headlights. As Officer Stallings approached the creature, it swiftly leapt into the river, vanishing without a trace. This bewildering encounter left the officer dumbfounded, forever ingrained in his memory. That from the Loveland Frogman, Bizarre Legends, also in the show notes.
There were a lot of witnesses of this thing running around for a while, huh?
Well, I mean, it's the same. This was the same officer, but yeah, we do have more than one, certainly. But more to come on that. Officer Matthews cited, he kind of scully-muggled one of these. So this is where we're getting kind of the backtrack a little bit. March of 72, the same Officer Matthews, this from WCPO.com, a local news report. In the show notes, he kind of scully-muggles part of his own report. Quote, later that month, Matthews was driving on Kemper Road near the boot factory when he saw something run across the road. However, it wasn't walking upright and didn't climb over the guardrails as the urban legend of the Frogman goes. The creature crawled under the guardrail. Matthews said he had no clue what it was. I know no one would believe me, so I shot it, he said. Matthews recovered the creature's body and put it in his trunk to show Shockey. He said Shockey said it was the creature he had seen too. It was a large iguana, 3 to 3.5 foot long. Matthews said the animal was missing its tail, which is why he didn't immediately recognize it and why it seemed more like frog-like.
Yeah,
he finishes,
Frog-manny.
It's a big hoax, he said. There's a logical explanation for everything. That from Officer Reveals True Story of Loveland Frog, WCPO.com. So he does kind of come back, scully-muggle part of this tail.
Okay.
Without a tail.
Yeah. Because it didn't have a tail.
Exactly. And it was only half, fun fact, it was only half the size of your friend's 6-foot iguana, which is about the biggest on record.
Oh, dude, if that thing stood up,
That could have been the Loveland
Frog.
Frog.
That would have been...
That would have been a cryptid. Yeah.
It was 6 feet with the tail.
Yeah.
So if it stood up, its body and the tail was on the ground, it would be about three something feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the largest of any species. We always talk about the largest of any species in the wrong place, or even in the right place. The largest can become a cryptid sighting. For sure.
Right.
Here is now the farmer's account. There's also a farmer's account from 1972 as well, during which 4 large frog-like beings were spotted on his land. The farmer describes pale greenish-gray skin and wide teeth-filled mouths. The farmer watched these march around his land before they slipped back into the river. And that was just paraphrased again from the Pine Barren Institute. One of the stranger, more fantastical tidbits of this flap, kind of researching it that I came across, was that some accounts there's these metal wand-like sticks around their heads that kind of sparkle and flash.
Whoa.
Now, some of it is the eye seemed to be very sparkly, so we could be getting a mist thing, but other people saw more of a sparkle around the head, which brings in the alien frog hybrid theorists, David Icke kind of stuff.
That's a very portally interdimensionality kind of thing to say.
Yeah.
Sparklies around their head.
Yeah, well, it could just be the water. You're shining a light. You've got these sparkly eyes. You've got a wet creature. It could throw back some, things depending on the lighting.
Maybe it lets out a mist of some kind.
Yeah, but this brings us to our next reading.
Is this the 2016 one?
Yeah, we're going to get a more recent sighting now, and it brings us to our next reading.
In August 2016, a couple playing Pokemon Go claimed they too had seen the elusive Loveland Frogman. As for Wednesday night's sighting, Jacobs said, quote, "We saw a huge frog near the water. Not in the game Pokemon Go. This was an actual giant frog. I took a couple pictures and a video because I'd never seen one that big. Then the thing stood up and walked on its hind legs," unquote. Jacobs went on to say he realizes some people will think he's crazy. Quote, "I swear on my grandmother's grave that this is the truth," Jacobs said. "I'm not sure whether it was a frogman or just a giant frog. Either way, I've never seen anything like it."
And that account from Snopes.com in the show notes. So it's kind of
That's 2016 in the same place, same area?
Yeah, we're still talking about, the Loveland Frog.
That's wild.
Area. And standing up on its 2 legs, if you remember from, Native American lore, that becomes a chindi frog because it could stand on its 2 legs. I think, though, that the first one was scully-muggled, and this one, the credibility of adults playing Pokemon Go to begin with.
Right?
I don't.
And
And swearing
2016
on your
it was
grandmother's.
huge.
I swear on my. It seems a little over the top.
2016, everybody was doing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
That's when it was at its top popularity, you know?
Yeah. So I guess we're supposed to forgive them or something.
Yeah, I would at that point.
Okay, that's fine. But basically,
It was in the before time.
that was the last sighting that I found from this area. It kind of puts things to rest for the Loveland thing. Some of it could be this iguana. Doesn't seem like a 3-foot iguana could possibly be what, I don't know. It's
Honestly,
maybe.
maybe because I've seen a lot of lizards. I've lived in the desert, and I've, known some iguanas personally. But I don't. Even if I saw a big iguana standing up like that, my mind's not going to go, that's a frog man. Like, that's
Yeah,
not.
I don't
Whoa,
know.
look at the size of that lizard. That's what my brain's going to do.
But something without a tail that large running around there, it is certainly a possibility.
But it looks.
I agree with
an
you.
iguana is so lizard.
I'm not.
Like, you're going to think you saw a giant lizard.
I don't know. I
know
kind of
what I
agree
mean?
with you. I kind of agree with you.
I don't see why your brain would go to frog.
In the original account from the businessman's account, this guy didn't come forward and give his name. This was just something he said, I saw this, and that's what kicked it off in the 50s.
Right.
And in the 70s, there was the big flap of several. And then we have one later account. But again,
It's when the portal opens, man.
there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know about this one. It doesn't seem, I know we don't do the Mulder Scully believability scale, but this doesn't seem to really pass muster, even though there are some police that were there and said something originally, so they were confused,
Right.
and that's what brings the most credibility to this story. But it's not a ton of people, and
Well, I think it's-
Scully, and maybe they Scully muggled it to save their reputations and to save their pensions. I
'Cause
mean,
this
that
is-
happens too.
This is Pennsylvania, right?
Ohio,
Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh, we jumped to Ohio.
we crossed.
Same concept at play here. Iguanas don't live in the wild in Ohio.
No, I know.
You know what I
but
mean?
pets get away.
Yeah, but
They live for a while.
how many people's pet iguanas get as big as my buddies did? Because it would have to be literally the biggest that they're
Well,
going to
it got away at that size, and it survived for X amount of days, weeks, months in the
But
wild.
it's missing its tail in both. But I'm just thinking, the cops see it and they end up killing this giant iguana with no tail and saying, "Oh yeah, it was just that." But then, how many years later, some people see
Yeah.
the same thing again, have the same reaction with the frogman thing, not lizard. And it just so happens there's another maxed out size iguana with no tail.
no,
wandering
I'm
around.
not. That's why I say it's kind of in the middle. For me, it's
Yeah.
not really. There's not a ton of evidence,
There's something weird about it,
but
though.
there may be something
Definitely
weird
something
about
weird
it.
about it.
There's something weird about it. Speaking of weird, now we're going to go on the trail of our next frog monster that we're highlighting, the Voidanoy. It starts off less froggy, more shapeshiftery, chock full of kind of pre-Christian and pagan goodness, which we're going to have a breakfast cereal.
Every time you say Voidanoy, I want pizza.
Yeah, it does. You got to avoid the noid. Yeah,
That's a Gen X joke, I think.
yeah. Was that Little Caesars or Domino's?
Domino's?
I don't know.
Avoid the noid?
Avoid the noid.
I think it was, I honestly don't remember.
We're just going to call it that. So Voidanoid is the shape-shifting water spirit of the Slavic swamplands. The word is Russian for watery, so that's where we get the voidya, from the water. There's a variation of the spelling, one ending with N-O-I, other ending in N-O-Y. I found both spellings. Czech and Slovakian areas, they call it the vodnik or the vodnici, which might be the female version. But this from John Kachuba's Shapeshifters, A History, will be in the show notes. The Voidanoy, found in Russia, with variants in Poland, Belarus, and the Balkans, said to be the unclean spirit of a man who committed suicide or died without the last rites of the church. The Voidanoy lives in deep pools or mill ponds. That'll be in the show notes.
Deep pools or mill ponds.
Yeah, I found in Heather Frigolia's work again, I found a picture of the Voidanoy, and it's basically looks like an old froggy dude with whiskers in the swamp kind of thing.
Ah, okay.
And the shapeshifter version of this creature assumes endless forms. Can also be a grass or moss covered, or can be shaggy, can be white furred, can be bloated or bluish. Sometimes the horns are on the top of the head, or they have large paws instead of webbed hands and feet. So here's some of its favorite guises. Perkachuba again from back in the day. Quote, a child, a swan, a red-shirted peasant, an old man with a white beard, a log with wings, a naked woman with big breasts, or a bouquet of reddish flowers. So it's pretty versatile. this one.
Huh.
Sometimes it resembles a half-submerged log again. I think we mentioned that.
This thing's all over the place.
But this log one time sprouted wings and flew off, so this gets really trippy.
This is literally any form it wants. This is a very energy being, take any form it wants.
Yeah, it does sound that way. But I think Ren and Stimpy said it best, though. It's log, it's thick, it's heavy, it's wood. It's log, it's better than bad, it's good.
Yeah.
On that note,
it is good.
Ren and Stimpy, which one's the shaman? Which one's the yek or totem?
Stimpy's definitely the shaman.
Correct.
Yeah. Ren's too angry to be a shaman.
He's also so totemy, yecky kind of.
Yeah.
Ren is the yek. Calvin Hobbes, same idea, Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
But like its cousin, the Rosalki, which is Slavic, the Kelpie or the Selkie, dozens of other nymphs and fairies kind of follow this lore. But this frog monster's chief hobby is to drown people. Again, very common. In some of these Slavic Russian
regions, we have something in common.
Yeah, a lot of these do that. But any water misfortunes, as usual in the area, are blamed on the Voidnoi. This happens everywhere we go, right? It's part of the bogey man thing. Keep the water, get kids away from dangerous water. They may enslave their victims or marry them, which I fail to see the difference, really. I also, like the Otterman of the Tlingit, will steal your soul in the process, sometimes storing the soul in teacups or jars under the water. So it almost seems djinn-like, but it's your soul. So do you become a djinn if these things enslave you?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
It's like the genie getting trapped in the bottle.
Yeah, your soul is
That's
trapped.
them trapping you in the bottle.
Yep. Over time, this creature turned on a greener hue, more humanoid characteristics, webbed fingers, more traditional frog-like face. Most of the depictions of this monster is that of a giant frog or a giant frog man, but these accounts, like anything else, tend to vary. Here's an adjacent critter from Lore Thrill, and that will be in the show notes as well. Quote, they are similar to the Wassermann or Nix of German folklore, which are mythical aquatic life forms residing in and underwater palaces. Similarly, an old-looking man with a long green beard, the Bolotnik, is believed to be close relative to the Voidnoi. And much like their cousin, the Bolotnik is said to also be especially dangerous as they have the habit of luring people into the swamp, done with the use of their ability to produce enchanting lights and mimic the sounds of various animals. So, and again, that's Voidnoi nasty frog-like monsters in Slavic wetlands from Lore Thrill. But more balls of light, more mimicry. Back to our old shapeshifter spreadsheet. These things seem to tick a lot of the same boxes of those shapeshifter themes when we covered shapeshifters. They're also said to place curious items near the edge, like a hand mirror or shiny trinkets as a trap. We heard this before today. This is the opposite of the worm and the bobber stuff. This is like when Pizza the Hut orders out for you.
Lone Star.
That's why we should call Void the Noid.
Oh, yeah.
He comes back.
Yeah.
Good, well done.
Pizza the Hut and the Void Noid.
Pizza the Hut and Void the Noid. Does all make sense. Strangely, our toppings all make sense, except the anchovies.
I like anchovies.
They're just too powerful. But though not as common, some folklore suggests that these watery beings can influence the weather, particularly causing storms or fogs over bodies of water.
Bring in the fog, yeah.
Yeah, the mist.
It's always a good...
Back to the king, back to the king's mist, or John Carpenter's The Frog.
What happens when portals open sometimes is
we talked about it with Bat Squatch.
When it's two totally different temperatures on either side of the portal, it can create its own little storm system or some fog or a thunderstorm or something.
I think we came up with that in Bat Squatch.
That's Bat Squatch also. That was very informative and that was a much deeper episode than I expected out of it, honestly.
That's what happens with it when we're involved.
It's episode 33, right after the Bridgewater Triangle.
So onwards to the superpowers of the Voidnoi. Atlas Mythica adds these pieces to the puzzle, that they are very powerful and immortal and can ensnare and imprison souls again, kind of nature deity and Aquaman-y, and that they have dominion over all the sea life around them. So there's a clear water guardian theme going on with these things as well. They, like other shaman or witches, can curse or heal, and like their sister counterparts, they can also create illusions and mimicry, as we mentioned as well. That's going to be in the show notes from atlasmythica.com. This is a mini Scully Muggle review. It's not the main one, but bogeys to keep kids away from the area from strong currents is a common theme, as we said, with the bogeyman. And I think this definitely is more on the mythos side than, and trying to find recent sightings of the Voidnoy, also very difficult to do. So I did not find any. If I missed some, I'm not perfect at this, obviously. monsterloretour@gmail.com. So give us, send us some stuff and find out if there's more stories from these parts. There are surprisingly few Frogzilla stories out there, especially recent. So in general, this is one of the first times, and you would say I found more than you would think, but they were kind of the hardest ones to find. I actually looked up a sub-Ribbit group. Well, I actually did look. Oh, no. I did really look on. I looked in some areas I normally wouldn't to see if I was missing anything.
Did you look on the Reddit?
The sub-Reddit group.
Reddit.
I did. But I did find pay dirt, by the way, at phantomsandmonsters.com.
Oh, there you go.
Count them, had 3 recent frog monster stories. And this is from Lon D. Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. He's going to get our Mad Cujos Award for coming up with 3 recent frog ones we're about to go over.
Mad Cujos.
Down boy!
This first tale is an account. A man's 2 nephews, aged 6 and 7, were playing outside in their backyard in a house in the Meadowlands, New Jersey. We come back to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
And this is what transpires. It brings us to Jeremy's next reading.
I have a weird childhood memory. I remember being scared to sleep because of the frogmen. That's what I called them. That would stand at the end of my bed and touch my toes. I have asked my mother about it, and she can vaguely remember me saying it. The frogmen were short. I could only see their heads and shoulders at the end of my bed. There was something about the toe touching that caused a feeling I would nowadays describe as fast acceleration or a kind of vertigo. They never spoke or communicated with me, but amongst themselves they would interact, like discuss what or which one would touch my toes. There was a light blue light that would illuminate the window that heralded their arrival. Although from what I remember, they just appeared in the room. But I would hide my head under the blanket whenever the blue light would appear. There's a lot going on there. That sounds very much like an alien abduction sort of scenario to me.
Yeah, there's a hypnagogic stuff creature at the end of the bed. This case taking frog form, and you're right. It sounds like the alien. Light, the aliens are around the bed.
Yeah, the light outside the window, waking up like kind of night terror-y with these things, and they're touching him weird. And he says when they touch his toes, he feels a sense of acceleration or vertigo.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're like moving him without him realizing it or something. Like they're taking him into the wormhole with him or something.
Yeah, and the other theme that keeps coming up is this bluish light. It's interesting because the original Voidnoy, the Russian version, had this bluish hue. We find Buford has this new species that has a luminous blue snout. I think there's something to do with the Loveland, the sparkly thing. Maybe we've got a blue hue too. I'm not 100% sure of that, but
even the nose glows blue on some of them.
That was
a lot
Buford.
Of blue.
Yeah,
a lot of blue.
Exactly. Look up, see blue kind of thing.
They're all tangled up in blue.
Yeah. And if you look up and see blue, it's Buford and Krampus. He's leading. He's leading Krampus' sleigh. That's a beautiful vision.
I really want to see that movie.
Yeah,
Krampus riding around in a sleigh, being drugged by giant frogs with blue noses.
Beelzebufos.
I don't know why that image is so awesome.
Yeah, and it's probably true somewhere.
It's got to be.
Yeah, that's like the multi-universe. It's something always happened.
Yeah.
Somewhere it exists in the multiverse.
Right. If Santa's the yin, then you got Krampus is the yang.
Yeah.
And, they both got to do the thing.
Yeah. I think frogs and reindeer, that's very likely any opposites as we probably have.
Right, because Santa is from the North Pole where there's reindeer, and Krampus is from the swamp where there's frogs.
There you go.
It makes total sense.
Total sense. So this brings us to Lon Strickler's third and last Fortean research moment, and another reading from Jeremy.
Ooh. I lived in the Mississippi Delta area. I was driving an ambulance at the time and was taking a patient to Jackson during the day. Well, as I was passing through a swamp, something caught my eye on the right of the vehicle at the top of a guardrail. It looked like the biggest bullfrog I had ever seen. I'm talking as big as a full-size basketball. However, the closer I got, the more strange it looked. Its eyes were large, black, and set on the front of its head, just like a human's. The mouth was wide and the top of its head was rounded, not flat like a frog's would be. As I approached, it turned to look at me. It had a look of intelligence in its eyes, and we stared at each other. I had already slowed down at the moment we made visual contact with one another. It looked at me like it was studying me, taking in my details. This is when I knew damn well this wasn't a frog. If it had been a frog, it would needed to have been perched on the rail to have its head above the guardrail like that, but there weren't any legs. We stared into each other's eyes through the passenger window. I've seen a lot, but this left me stunned and grasping at reason. As I passed, it turned its head and looked at the side of my ambulance. It looked curious and was examining it. I watched in the side view mirror, and that's when I noticed it had a neck. And not only that, but it had to have been fairly sizable to have had its head over the railing because the other side seemed to drop off. I'm not sure how deep, but I'm 5'2", and I don't think I would have been able to stand behind it like that. When my ambulance fully passed, I saw it turn and look at the other cars going by. It just seemed to be looking at us like a curious child. It was a really weird experience for me. I will never forget the creature's face. This guardrail was literally on the edge of the road, so when I passed, we couldn't have been more than 10 feet from each other. I know what I saw, and I will never forget it.
And that's the last one from Lon Strickler. All of those will be in the show notes. And this one, so it ends with the little, I know what I saw. It has that little Linda Godfrey moment at the end.
He's talking the thing's got to be at least 6 feet tall.
Yeah, because it drops off. It's unknown, but this is bigger than any of the accounts we've seen. He does say it's frog-like.
Oh.
It's kind of like, those dogman encounters we see at the side of the road, except this is a frogman.
Yeah.
It is a different variation of some of these themes we've seen before.
This one had a neck, though, unlike the other ones.
Yeah. It was taller and had
That's
a lot
really,
of them say no neck.
This is by far the tallest one because they're 5'2", and they're saying they're too short to stand there and have their head over the rail like that. So at least a head taller than that. So you're talking at least 6 feet tall.
That's kind of my favorite story. That one's just so strange and creepy.
Yeah.
So we have some definitely more giant frog sightings than I had thought, but they were harder to dig up. So it took a little bit of extra digging.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like somebody was doing some people watching while they were waiting for their layover for their other portal to open.
Yeah.
That's going back to my ajo guano from the last episode.
Yep, that's true. We can't rule out someone in a frog suit, of course. We can't do that, but it is interesting that...
yeah, that's weird. That's a weird one.
That's a weird one. Best defense this brings us to, which is also kind of inspired by Atlas Mythica. The void noise tell is that it's always kind of dripping water. I did not mention this piece, but if it stands any place too long, a puddle will kind of form under it, and that's the tell that if you have puddles around, you might be dealing with a void noise. And you know who would not drown in the puddle under a void noise?
Unbreakable with owl blood.
Yeah, exactly. The unbreakable.
We already used him. Though.
I know.
He's only against the owls.
Well, I'm not saying I'm going to use that, but I'm just saying there's a puddle, so you do harken back to that a little bit. But here's the thing for best defense.
Oh, I know what I would bring.
Well, okay, jump. You go.
I would bring the giant black snake from the
Bridgewater Triangle.
Yeah,
on King Philip Street.
Yeah. The giant snake from King Philip Street and from the Hockomock Swamp.
And
big black snake.
Now that we brought you back, I got to say that snake was actually King Philip, who is Metacomet. It's the chief, not necessarily the Black Sachem Tespakwen. So I think
even better then.
Yeah. So that was, I guess it's tough to say which one showed up.
So I can call it the black king snake from the Hockomock.
There you go.
That's what I'm bringing for my best defense. Eat all the frogs up.
There you go. I think you've already won, as usual.
I'm good at that one.
There you go. But don't swim on sacred days is what you should do avoid doing with a void noi. Don't go in the water after dark.
Okay.
Sign of the cross works in this area of the world. And remember to get yourself baptized, because your unbaptized church friend that you're hanging out with is kind of going to be potentially one of the victims.
So you can't swim on holidays?
Yeah, there's all kinds of, these...
I get the don't swim after dark, but you can't swim on sacred days or holidays?
Yeah, because I guess it's blasphemous.
Huh.
But try to head inland when escaping if possible, because supposedly they can leave and go on land, but they lose their potency and power the further they get from water. That's just some of the tricks
interesting
to get away from the void noi, to avoid the noi.
Yeah.
My dream team was easy, Rowdy Roddy Piper or his ghost.
Oh, nice.
Because he is experienced at bringing hell to Frogtown.
There you go.
Probably in VHS cassette form. You'd probably be asking all the frogmen if they have a VHS player, or maybe where the nearest Blockbuster video store is. So this could get really embarrassing really quickly. So no, the heck with it. Just Chuck Norris. I'm just taking Chuck Norris.
The ghost of Roddy Piper is the best defense I've ever heard.
All right. Well,
that's awesome.
I gave up on it because I think he's going to show up like, hey, we want to watch this,
The thing with Piper is, he's spacey, but once you get him, you got to kind of just get him there and set him to task, and then he's going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah, well, he's in They Live with John Carpenter's too.
Oh yeah, like I said, one of my favorite sci-fi movies.
There you go. Nah, see the 3 for John. Well, we'll talk about this later. We're going to talk about this later. But we ain't done yet.
You're going to tell me what my opinion is later? Is
Correct.
That what you're saying? Okay.
I'm going to just fix you, because you're just, just stop lacquering your deck and listen for a minute.
I like bad movies. What can I tell you?
You like lacquering your deck. But anyway, we're not done yet, because this is actually was the exciting part of this. Even though I found cool old newspaper accounts, and I found really cool accounts about giant frogmen I had not heard before, I found a really cool thesis, so we're going to discuss that next.
All right.
So we're going to segue to our theories section, where we go a little bit deeper here. Metafordian, January 2020, I found the significance of the toad Rhinella marina in Olmec art from San Francisco University. This thesis links the frog or toad to the Olmecs, to their ruler, and the whole dealio smacks of, pretty much my Maz's shaman monster complex. I know how long we've been away from it, and I tried to pick something innocuous as frogs to get away from owls and shaman and stuff. I failed.
Hey, if it's something you can yak, then it's going to tie into shamanism. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can yak a frog.
You can yak a frog, back to your deck lacquering days. But Metafordian, this thesis highlight.
Just lacquer your deck, just don't lacquer your yak.
Ooh, yeah, because they can get mad.
Yeah,
they are the creature of power that connects you.
They're the source of your power. Yeah.
So Stimpy, beware of Ren. Mm-hmm. Don't piss him off too much.
That's what that show's all about, actually.
Yeah. But Metafordian's thesis highlights the significance of the toad for this whole culture. The Olmecs represents our deepest dive into this little whole section today, which is why she is the obvious winner of our main Mad Cujos recipient tonight.
Another Mad Cujos.
Down boy!
It's becoming a lot too. We've been doing
we use it
Mad
2 or 3
Cujos.
times. Yeah. No, it's good though, because it's just the people that were the backbone of our research or did something the coolest or something like that,
Yep. Here's a quote from the thesis we're about to discuss. Quote, "The rainforests of Central America and Mexico harbor a ferocious and dangerous predator. A traveler to these regions would likely encounter the animal since it breeds prolifically and at great speed. When threatened, it secretes a dangerous milky substance from a pair of parotoid glands on the head, can cause heart attack and the death of humans. This predator is the toad, Rhinella marina. Heavily built with short legs, this species has no web between its toes. Adult animals have a rough, warty skin of tan, dull green, or black color. They can grow up to 9 inches in length and weigh more than 2 pounds. That, again, is the overview of the toad we're about to be discussing in this thesis.
Sounds like something out of the X-Men or something.
Well, it sounds like Beelzebufo in a way.
There you go.
We do have this little flavor of this ancient evil frog. But who were the Olmecs? You remember them, right?
Olmec was Mexico, right?
Yes. They inhabited Mexico from 1500 BC to about 100 AD.
Yeah, there you go.
And this culture greatly influenced the Mayan and the Aztecs, and in part inspired what came to be known as Toltec wisdom, which you know
There
from
you go.
Carlos Castanilla and the Ruiz brothers, if you're any of those Four Agreement fans out there.
They were the precursor to the Incans and the Mayans and stuff, right? The Aztecs.
Yeah, I think the Inca too, potentially. Yeah, I think it's all potentially
Kind of
tied
that
in there.
whole area kind of came out of that Olmec tradition, right?
I would say they weren't the oldest, but they were dang old.
They predate the ones we think of as the old ones there, though.
Yeah.
Like you think of the Aztecs and the Incans and stuff as old now, but the Olmecs were before that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would wonder if the Anasazi would be older still. I would say yes, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like they kind of know when they left, but it's hard to say how long they were here before that.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't know. It's actually a guess on my part. But the main Olmec shapeshifter of the time and the key power animal, as far as most scholars are concerned, from that whole region was the jaguar. No surprise. So that is the main nawal of the region for shaman. But Fordin's thesis reminds us not to underestimate the significance of the toad or frog in this region. All the toad carvings and art symbols that come from this time period. She really is a champion of the frog here. There seems to be an inherent shamanic symbolism behind the significance of the frog. We always go to the jaguar. The frog seems neglected, yet it tends to show up in the cave paintings and the carvings and the statues and the trinkets of the time. This from the thesis as well. Quote, "The toad's capacity to symbolically traverse the different levels of the cosmos gives the animal its supernatural powers. The hallucinogenic properties of the parotoid gland secretions played an essential role in the iconography of transformation, metamorphosis, and regeneration in shamanic rituals. These processes are a narrative of the power of a ruler shaman and his journey into or emergence from the underworld. The toad is the symbol which legitimizes his power and right to undertake such a journey." Again, back to Aristophanes, we have those psychopompic frogs.
Yeah.
This almost sounds a little like that. It's going to get a lot more like that in a minute, but go ahead.
The milky secretions you were talking about a minute ago. And
Yeah. Yep. I thought about that first line in the middle. If we change the word cosmos to consciousness, we get this. The toad's capacity to symbolically traverse the different levels of consciousness gives the animal its supernatural powers.
Wow.
So we shift
Bingo.
we shift from toad to shaman. Both you actually hit on this earlier, almost at the beginning of the episode, because that's what you like to do. But the
I like to
liminal,
jump to the end.
that between state of frogs between land and water. You
yeah.
mentioned this. Shamans between upper and lower world, or even between humanity and the gods themselves. We saw the same theme with crocodiles when we looked at Sharon Mertz's work.
Yeah.
Those were crocodiles. We've seen this before, this little owl messengers.
I was just going to say the owls were in a big way traveling between the realms and all that.
Exactly. Here's some yek toads, frogs as totems. One carving from this era and from this thesis depicts toads with clawed feet like a jaguar. So we have these frogs with almost jaguar-like aspects. We often find toads as transitory anthropomorphs, as the thesis points out. What we've been calling therianthropes here doesn't actually work, because therian means animal, but it's the same idea when we talk about anthropomorphs. Again, we can even have insects as yeks, as remember, or rocks or crystals. We can even have frogs. You can even have a wendigo as a yek, by the way.
Whoa.
Bad idea, Jeans, I would say. Hey, honey, I'm going to go hang out with the Wendigo brothers tonight. It'll be fine. No.
That's very sistery.
Just say no.
Only sisters yak wendigos.
Exactly. But I didn't think that was a thing.
That's the most MLT thing I've ever said in my life.
There you go. Well, I did find this out recently, and I thought that was actually a jaw dropper to have a Wendigo as a yak. But we'll get there when we discuss the Wendigo.
Yeah, that's wild.
Very wild, and insatiable hunger again. But researchers are also making connections between the toad and the four cardinal points, more portal guardian implications. They have even found what are described as toad altars in Mexico. The thesis discusses these Olmec carvings with a toad surrounded by these swirling cloud markings representing clouds and water, again between sky and earth. But it may, again, water and land and sky. But it may also be a link or hint to these hallucinogenic characteristics we're about to get into. But how would we at MLT decipher swirling cloud-like markings? We've come across this before. Swirling.
The whirlpool thing, like the djinn and all that.
The whirlwinds and the whirlpools pools that we keep coming as an extra side theme with shapeshifters we keep coming across, or beings of power. Yeah. There seems to be these whirlwinds.
And even in the portals, you have the maelstromy, whirlpooly vortex sites that are around the portal sites.
That's how they're depicted, right? And a vortex is these little spirals.
Yeah, looks like you're looking down at a whirlpool.
Tornado
or something, yeah.
Yep. But this thesis even describes a ball game that represents the journey to the underworlds of Balba. We've talked about that place before in Aztec lore, or Olmec. We have the toad as messenger and overseeing this game that includes the imbibing of the hallucinogens. And if that's not freaky froggy enough, these games were to the death.
Ooh.
So not only a real, it's a metaphor. It's not just a metaphor of death. It's death of the lower self. You lose the game. It's like rollerball,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
It's Thunderdome.
Yeah, but that's a newer...
Two frogs enter. One frog leaves. Two frogs enter. One frog leaves.
Exactly. But I know the rollerball one would probably get most people because no one knows who James Caan is anymore. But Toad as killer or Toad as transcender or both, kind of depending on which toad you lick, I guess. Right. But I brought a toad into class today for that purpose.
You have a toad for me to lick?
Later in the program, we'll be licking a toad. But the basin of this altar statue, or some of these depicted in the carvings, has this, it's believed to be where they mixed the hallucinogenic potion. The thesis points to two reasons folks might bother to carve a parotoid gland of the frog into rock surface, because that seems to be prominent in cave and art and all these statues as well. A, it is a rather prominent anatomical feature of the head of any frog. B, it has a real place in the mythology spiritually as these transformative qualities due to this hallucinogenic component. Why would Olmecs identify, focus, and fixate, and then carve the parotoid gland of a frog? This is likely ties in with Jeremy Narby's stuff. It's kind of Narby adjacent.
Oh, it is, yeah.
With frogs and snakes and cahoots. But there's even some more blatant shaman-toad overlap in these old artifacts. Here's another quote from the same thesis describing the depiction of a shaman carved into stone. So this is a shaman depiction. He is leaning forward with his hands on his knees. The almond-shaped eyes had inlays of pyrite, magnetite, or obsidian. The facial features are finely sculpted, giving the figurine personality, a sense of power. On the shaman's shaved head is incised a toad in the process of shedding its skin.
Whoa.
So we have a skin...
Toader.
I was thinking hopper, but yeah, Hauptganger, whatever we did.
Those are some freaky eyes.
Fliegende Scheißkopf. Sorry, I haven't done that in a while.
Got the pyrite or the blacked out
the
shiny
obsidian.
eyes.
These almond shaped, which again ties into more the eye of the alien as well.
Oh, that's true too, yeah. The Star Child eyes.
Yep. So again, we have this creature representing this transition between worlds and symbolizing transformation, rebirth, devouring its skin. There's an Ouroboros kind of thing steeped in the symbolism as well. Shedding its skin, this transformation, this being of power emerging, the shaman. Surprising there aren't more examples of frogs as psychopomps, but I found Aristophanes' play where he's joking with frogs that are making, singing to people as they arrive at Pluto's castle. This is a realer version where these are presiding over these death games in ancient Olmec games.
Yeah.
But they probably lose credibility, I think, because frogs are ugly. I mean, maybe that's why they lose out on this. They don't get, but she's saying the jaguar is what we all think of as the greatest being of power around there, and the shaman tend to resemble or transform into jaguars. The frog's the other one. It's just not mentioned. Doesn't get any credit. Why she really deserves the main man, Cujo. She's kind of elevating the frog back into a position of prominence.
Yeah, good for her, because it's not always the cool one. The jaguar's just the cool one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The paranerdalist is the frog.
Yeah, the frog has so
back
much
at the
more
library.
reach. Well, think of the reach of the frog. It's amphibious and everything. Like, it can go between different realms. The jaguar's just fast and strong.
Yeah.
Other than that, what's it got going for it? The frog has way more like cool inherent traits and powers and stuff.
And it's better symbol that transitory state.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and even the fact, like, it starts out as the tadpole, it starts out as the fish, and then becomes the frog, and then the frog men develop the man-like qualities. Like, it goes through all these different phases.
Yep.
Jaguar is just a jaguar, man.
The ones that don't stay in their frog parent stone. They don't just live in that little.
Right, the ones that are trapped in a little air bubble in a rock. That's actually still the craziest thing about this to me.
But in MLT terms, the frog becomes the yek of the shaman, who uses the frog as symbol as totem, an actual vehicle due to the hallucinogens to become the transformed shaman king. For the Loveland frog, there's a loose shaman connection as well. I promise more on the Twaiti tribe. This might be your last reading today.
Was that a threat?
Yeah, if you're good, young man. Otherwise, there's more readings for you.
I'll do it good then.
Do good.
The Loveland frog is similar to its normal frog cousins, but about 400 times the size. It walks bipedally, upright on 2 legs. It's a man-frog hybrid, with some amphibian and some human characteristics. It's said to range between 3 and 5 feet tall, and the size of a large dog or small person. The Loveland frog is definitely not your run-of-the-mill spring peeper. Legends about the Sicilian, or amphibian-like creature, date back centuries, to a time before white men settled the shores of the Little Miami River. In the last years of the 17th century, the native Twaitwi people warned early French explorers about a river demon they called the Shanahook. The terrifying water devil had features of both a frog and a man, minus a nose or any sort of hair. Its skin was dark and bumpy, with a wrinkled yet slimy appearance. The Shanahook guarded the river's banks, chasing away any and all who stumbled uninvited into its territory. The creature was thought to be immortal, and if injured, it would simply sink back into the cool waters of the Little Miami.
That from the Loveland Frog, Ohio's creepy amphibian cryptid, thelineup.com. And the reason I do that is it gives this Loveland frog this more amorphism, what we're talking about, transition. It seems this half human, half creature. It seems more guardian spirit, kind of water guardian in there going on. It brings up a lot of what ifs if this is the transition more to, again, Maz's shamanic shapeshift complex. Yeah. There's some more dubious sources out there that do claim the Shanahook have access to magic and they themselves are the shaman, but I could not find credible Native American sources to really back this up. So if you have any info, monsterloretour@gmail.com. But there's a clear connection between shamanism and the Voidnoi frog as well. As we discussed, it's more nature deity and water guardian, same idea. But it has the same ability to curse, heal. They have spells, they have illusions. There's a shapeshiftery component to it. The same bag of tricks, as we've seen time and time again, any shaman worth of salt has, which is why people make the leap from frog to shaman, pardon the pun.
Yeah, it makes sense though, yeah.
But a reminder, we also found the Changchiyas, mountain demons from Taiwan. These are frog beings that kidnap children, again, possibly for food or possibly as creature teachers. Couldn't find any more on that. But again, we also found that connection between the Tlingit, and we have found otters people, and we found similar tales in New England and Alaska. We also found similar tales of frog men in Alaska and frogmen in New England. Basically, the same tribes are sharing these same things. Again, it does bring us to the edge of shamanism again, where we find the shamanic connection between frogman, frog people, frog beings, frog creature teachers, potentially.
You just sparked a new tangent on that theory in my brain with the whole shamanism thing. So like everywhere we go with this, we got the frogs, we had the otters, we got the yetis, all these different beasts you look into end up having this creature teacher component where they steal the children, and if they fail the test, they eat them, and if they pass the test, they turn them into one of them.
Right.
And there's the whole thing in the shamanic ritual, just kind of the overall mythos of the shamanistic path, that it's literally like they rend your flesh and rebuild you.
Correct.
So what if these portals are being opened by all these different types of creatures who are actually like, we're their clay to make more of themselves out of, and they're kind of like fighting over the choice ones
Right.
in the herd
Right.
and gathering them. And that's where these things come from, is they actually like steal us, like the right ones of us away to become one of them. And they're building their own armies out of us.
Yeah. The bush beings or soul beings are there in the land. The portal opens. They say these are our 3 best bets. Grab these ones.
Yeah.
We see what ends up happening, and whether they become some of the folklores, they become those creatures. Some as they return as great shamans. The one that returned as an owl woman. We had all these stories of women changed into owls, and it's all punishment. It's all terrible, and they're shunned by their village when they return, or they never return, or they become owls and they're gone. This one lady returns as a being of power, as an owl-human hybrid, and teaches. So if you pass these things, very few are chosen. Fewer still are called.
There was the one guy that got away from the otters. Remember
Correct.
that one? I think that was the side trail for episode 24.
Kaka, yeah, the shaman who actually learns the secrets of the otters and returns to the tribe.
Yeah.
And that one was a little bit more of an adversarial thing, and he got away, but learned some stuff. Usually...
But he's like
pattern,
the one guy
correct.
that ever managed to actually get away.
Yeah, Kaka or Quokka, depending on the pronunciation. But yeah, it's interesting that we keep... And I am looking for this. I don't want to say that I'm not. So when I see these themes, when it goes shamanic, I find these little connections back.
Right.
I think they're interesting.
That theory that you just sparked, that was very instantaneous in my brain. Like, whoa, we're their clay. They make themselves out of us.
Right.
Like, that's freaky.
Yeah.
And it ties everything together in a way. It's part of your theory of everything, because it ties in the whole portals and the crafts and the cryptids all showing up at the same time.
Yeah, none of the shamans think that they're the beings of power. They believe beings of power created them.
Yeah.
And this is the same idea that they are torn down, they are reborn, they emerge. It's just like the carving of the frog shaman man. He's emerging as a shaman from the shedding of the frog skin. We're
just lumps of plain clay, and when they harvest us and work us into something, we become the mythical, magical creatures that they are. So it's really just us making more of themselves out of us.
But in this, right. But in this particular journey, they are taking the hallucinogenic route, because they are carving the parotoid gland of the frog. They have the carving where this base of the statues is where you actually mix the secretions, these milky secretions, and everyone's taking it to play this game. You die if you lose this game, but what emerges, the ones who win, are kind of next level of consciousness beings, potentially. And again, I think that picture of that shaman shedding the skin of the frog kind of says it all. Like, he's using the hallucinogen to reach this night. Right. Now, again, we talked about those who don't believe you should go that route, but that is a route for some, and that is a route for some cultures. Ayahuasca, the ayahuasqueros, same idea. Some people, think it's, there's different ways to get there through meditation, through Jungian analysis and symbol code breaking, as we did with McClellan's work last time. But this is, the Olmecs seem to go this hallucinogenic route, and out of it emerges again an amorphism, an animal, not an animal, an amphibious human that again emerges as this, the yek would be the frog of the shaman. And we talked about all of these animals can seem to be used in different ways at different times as becoming the symbol of the emergence. But this one, of course, has a hallucinogenic component, which is a little different. It's more specific.
Literally built into it.
This is built into it.
Literally built into it.
And that's what they're carving, that parotoid gland of the frog.
The actual specific gland of the frog.
When you look through this thesis, you look through these pictures, you always see the frog, and you see this very prominent, it's the behind the ear, that round circle that's prominent on the frog.
So they wanted to make sure that future peoples knew about the power of that.
Right. They're saying this is the important part, this is where you get the secretions, and then this is, I'm sure there's more details how to mix them. And
so you brought me one of these toads to lick?
Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing.
Hell yeah.
That is what we're going to be doing for our before we get to our ahuguano, I guess.
Okay.
Let's get to our ahuguano. I think we're just going to jump to that today.
Dang it.
But those new blue-nosed frogs are actually baby voidonoids.
Wait, is this the ahuguano?
Correct.
Oh, ahuguano, theory of the week. Oh no, here it comes. Quick, to the batshit signal. Okay, go ahead. I want to make sure I know in the right mindset to listen to this.
We have to shift from batshit crazy stuff we talked about to really batshit.
This is going to be the craziest thing of the day. Okay.
But those new blue-nosed frogs that we found, Buford being one of them, are actually baby voidinoi. Yep, that's what I got. When Kermit sings, "It ain't easy being green," it's because deep down he wants to turn blue and become a shaman Muppet King. That's a teaser for our side trail as well. Huh. You did it with the snuffleupagus to my.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. That's what I got. I think the blue is a sub theme.
So the blue frogs want to be what is that? They're like the water spirit or something, the Voidnoi, right? What is the actual...
The Voidnoi, both of Loveland Frog, potentially, and Voidnoi, definitely these guardian spirits, this nature, this water spirit. They definitely have this, again, the same energy, whether sometimes it's ancestral, sometimes it's nature deity. So, it always has a different flavor, but the same result can be the transformation of a human to the to more of a shamanic being.
So that's where, so the blue light is the forebear, or like the sign that it's getting ready to start morphing from just the frog into the frog man. Is that what the Ahul says?
Correct, because like last time we did Cleland, you start to see owls and UFOs.
Yeah.
You're trying to cross that transpersonal band, going beyond life and death as being one, and you're emerging as this new mandala emerges, and you have this mystical breakthrough. This is a variation of that. The bluing starts to get bluer and bluer and bluer, and that's your warning that it's time to lick that frog.
Yeah. Well, it's like the frog's getting ready to turn into the full-on energy being.
There you go.
And start morphing its shape.
Yeah, that was Ahuguani.
That's an interesting Ahuguano. I like that a lot.
That was a stretch, honestly.
You're
too kind, sir.
Well, philosophically, from a philosophical standpoint, just fun to think about. That's a cool theory.
Well, I was shocked that the blue is the only weird color that kept showing up globally for frogs. And we talked about how blue doesn't show up very often. We talked about the shulmas could turn into a blue wolf. I have found other blue critters, and I kind of make a note of them because they're rare. But it's not as it's the least common M&M in our cryptid bag of candies.
Yeah, like eyes, or any sort of light they give off, or the shine of the eyes, things like that.
Wasn't blue added later in the M&M bag?
Yeah, they replaced tan with it.
Let's see.
But you don't see the blue. You see fiery colors usually. It's red, it's yellow, maybe orangey, or you might see like just void, like blackness of the eyes, or like absence of light. But like the blue, like you said, it's only like the color blue has only come up a very few times over the course of these 68 episodes.
I think the actual bear can have blue eye shine, if I'm not mistaken.
I forget what color light from the Rakes interview with Trent.
Yeah.
We got to get a follow up on this with Matt. But that there was a flash of light from the rake. I want to say it was blue, but I could be wrong on that. The only ones from my episode, only blue I can think of from my episodes is Bat Squatch's fur.
Correct. There was also the Bat Squatch fur was blue. It does come up time and time again. Yeah. Some of their accounts were blue.
But it's so seldom. There was something with blue eyes that we ran into at some point way back, and we were like, whoa, blue eyes. That's weird.
Yeah, because back to the shapeshifter spreadsheet, we came up with the most common of the narwhal or the shapeshifter or the monster was always red, followed closely by yellow, and then you said there was a couple that were black or void, and there were some other odd ones, but it was mostly red or yellow.
Yeah, that's pretty much your standard.
Pretty much your standard cryptid critter eye shine.
Which how because like a dog's eyes are green, and like animals will rarely have that same shine.
Right.
Like natural, earthly, this worldly animals.
Exactly.
That's how you distinguish when you see the eyes and you're like, whoa, what the hell is that? Then you're seeing something weird.
But to get to Sir Richard Scullymuggle's Skeptic's Review, we should do Sir Richard Scullymuggle's Skeptic Review.
Good idea.
You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
Will that get us to Scully Muggle Skeptics Review?
I think that worked, yeah.
Okay. To focus on Loveland for a moment, I don't think the skeptics would dignify any answer. They would point to the policeman calling the Loveland frog a hoax. They'd go back to the iguana scenario. They'd go back to him kind of cleaning up his Scully Muggle act. If you have so few witnesses, less multiple witness accounts, and no footprints, scat, warts, it is a tough slog for the whole Loveland piece of this. And again, the bogey seems to be more on the Voidenoy side of it. It's keep kids away from water, and it seems to be very ingrained into the culture to stay away from the water. They do dive into the toad licking. It was kind of fascinating, and one of the frogs is closely associated with the shaman. But it's clearly linked to Native American folklore, and frog shamanism, to some degree, surfaced more than I thought. But again, a Scully Muggle would call, basically bullshit, and not be as impressed with this effort.
Yeah, I mean, the Scully Muggle would just chalk this all up as another myth kind of thing, and it's all allegory. There's no actual truth to it. It's just trying to keep the kids out of the water at night. And blah, blah, blah.
But people have mystical experiences. They have shamanic experiences. They have these moments where they emerge the mandala through the symbol piece of it, or through the hallucinogenic piece of it, or through the meditative mindfulness breakthrough, where they do emerge through these different levels. And I think they all say the same kind of thing. We come back to that James Webb quote I found that, he basically said occult is the largest body of ignored information we have. The Library of Alexandria, when that burned down, everybody talks about, Carl Sagan, all the science we lost, all the occult, all the right brain qualitative stuff we lost too. Like, there was a lot there on both sides of that fence. And would we be in the same boat if that didn't burn down, or would that have, propelled us more in this direction that has been totally shut down?
There may have been record of the technology used to build the pyramids in that place, and they burned it.
Yeah. That was a moment, and they say it was an accident. Who knows?
One of the biggest crimes against humanity ever committed was the burning of that library, man.
And if the Internet Archive goes down because it gets busted, that would be, again, this stuff isn't lost, but it's not free.
It's not accessible anymore.
It's not accessible. I mean, it is. They're still on right now, but they're in trouble.
Well, if they get shut down.
If they get shut down, I think it would be a great loss. I mean, there's not much to find. The Internet is about selling you stuff, about listening to you, and hey, he said this, let's try to sell him that, or he typed that, let's try to sell him this.
Right.
It's not about information, and that would be a huge loss if that went down and doesn't come back at some point.
Yeah.
So, I have a Wolfman Puck now for you.
Wolfman Puck scripted culinary corner.
Your entree, sir. Smells good.
It's my favorite part. I'm hungry.
I am making a paratoid pate.
What's that?
Envision a plate of frog legs kind of hanging off the plate like shrimp. And in the middle is a garlicky paratoid pate used as a dip. So this is a hallucinogenic psychedelic journey dip in the middle there. So you kind of dip your frog leg in there, and you go on a trip after you use a little of the little special sauce.
All right, let's go. We're out of here, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Well, you can't go before you wash it down, because I'm pairing it with Bullfrog Brewery, downtown Williamsport, home of the Little League World Series. Just their Billtown Blonde. It's a solid blonde. I've had it, and it's one of their flagship beers, and I think it would go down well with some hallucinatory frog legs. So there you go.
I don't even want to try to beat that. I just want to eat it.
Yeah, let's go.
I want that right now.
I can get us there. Well, it's a bit of a drive from here.
I was gonna cook up some toadfish, man, but nothing's gonna come even close to what you just did. And like trippy frog legs with bullfrog beer.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna compete with that.
Dang, it's odd that I win this one.
I just want it. I want that now.
Let's go. I know the way.
I'm going to go trip out on some frog legs, everybody. Anything to add to Subvert before we go, Moss?
I do not. I had a lot of fun hunting for some more obscure frog monsters today. And
that was great.
Hints of sprinkled with hints of shamanism.
And you finished it so well with, that's like the coolest meal I've ever heard on MLT.
There you go.
So we will see you all next week. Take a few seconds to hit those happy fun buttons on the way out if you could. The likes and subscribes and shares and auto downloads. Leave us a rating, review if you got a minute, all that sort of stuff. If
A
you
raving review.
Yeah, even better. If you want to support the program, we do only charge $1 a month for early access to all our stuff on our Patreon at patreon.com/monsterloretour. And I am hungry and I am thirsty, so we're going to go have that cryptidy feast. We will see you next week. Until then, to all my fellow paranerdalists out there, have a good one.